Happy anniversary, Minecraft! Minecraft celebrated its 13th birthday yesterday, and well, okay, that's not a major milestone, but here I am. So why am I here? Well, back in December, I celebrated the release of Minecraft 1.18 by not playing it. I still haven't played it, actually. Instead, I played Minecraft Classic and spoke about the game with Roger van der Weide. As some of you may recall, I related a story about how I once interfered with a video produced by a very well-known YouTuber, PaulSoaresJr's. Now I know what you're thinking. PaulSoaresJr? What could I possibly have to do with a major YouTube celebrity like him? Allow me to jog your memory. Back in 2012, PaulSoaresJr tamed his very first wolf in his widely renowned Minecraft Survive and Thrive series, and he had this to say.
It's really difficult for wolves to navigate around these long falls, so your best bet is to make him sit, and he'll stay there for a while. And then he'll eventually zip to you if you get attacked. So I'll find something to attack me, and he'll come zipping to my aid.
That's not quite right, I'm afraid. When sitting down, wolves won't respond to their owner taking damage unless they happen to be very close. But that's okay. It was an honest mistake. Wolves were pretty new to Minecraft at the time, and PaulSoaresJr was still figuring them out, just like the rest of us. Nonetheless, I realized he had made an error, and that's where I intervened. So I sent him a private message. I said, hey, I think you misspoke here. The wolf in the video isn't going to follow you around because, you ordered it to sit. So maybe you should clarify that for the viewers. I was very polite to him. I wasn't rude at all. I didn't say, yeah, you're playing the game wrong. Worst YouTuber ever. Yeah. Plenty of those out there. No need to be rude. Well, sure enough, next episode, at the tail end of it, he issues a clarification about the wolves. But clearly he was doing it unscripted and semi-unprepared, so it was sort of, it just sounded so unnatural and stuttering, and I was just shrinking back in my chair. I was so embarrassed. I was like, oh no, I did this. I'm the reason he's doing this. Yeah, but then I actually went back and watched it. PaulSoaresJr didn't stutter or do very much umming and ahhing when he issued the correction. He's a professional. So why did I say he did? This wasn't done out of malice. I certainly don't want to make PaulSoaresJr look bad. This is just literally how I remembered the events playing out all those years ago. My mistake here was relying on that memory instead of fact-checking like I usually do. So let's focus on the facts. Unfortunately, I don't have a copy of the original note that I sent to PaulSoaresJr. It was written back in 2012. That was before Google took over YouTube and changed everything. And now YouTube doesn't even have a private messaging feature anymore. I can't even apologize to PaulSoaresJr privately. Thanks, Google. Thanks a lot. That being said, I am certain that my note was phrased politely. It's not an unreasonable assumption. I phrase all my notes politely. Besides, I like PaulSoaresJr. He's one of the people who inspired me to start creating content on this platform. The last thing I would do is offend him in any way. Lest I burn a bridge or something.
He never directly responded to you.
No, but that's okay. I wasn't expecting him to. I did say to him that I wouldn't be against him mentioning my name, but I didn't say it was necessary. And considering what resulted, kind of embarrassing.
Oh well.
Though maybe I'm overthinking it. Maybe I'm not the only one to correct him. That he had a bunch of people yelling at him. I was just the nicest one.
I wouldn't be surprised if that happened. I wouldn't be surprised.
Ah, that's right. I did say that I wouldn't be against him mentioning my name. He didn't, but I raise a fair point here. I probably wasn't the only one to correct him. Besides, my channel was pretty much a blank void at the time. I didn't even start to upload officially until 5 years later. I can't really blame him for not giving me a shout-out. There was nothing to shout out to. There's the wasp, of course. Jeez, look at this. You can barely even hear my voice over the music. Bailing you out like this, buddy. You gotta learn to watch out for yourself. So because PaulSoares Jr. never responded to my original message, I have no idea what he thought of it. All I have to go on is what he said in the next episode of his survival series, in which he calmly and professionally corrected himself and suggested paying a visit to the Minecraft wiki. So, no harm done, right? Issue over. Go home. Yeah, good luck convincing my brain of that. Maybe his voice went a little bit quiet when he started talking about this, but that could be my mind playing tricks on me again. My biggest worry was that I was embarrassing him in some way, and somehow I convinced myself that I had. My mind magnified any perceived flaw with the video and directed all the blame at me. And I believed this for years. Sadly, I'm sort of prone to this negative way of thinking. I tend to assume the worst, I tend to mind read, and apparently I tend to perceive negative things that aren't even there. And it doesn't stop there, either. I fall victim to all sorts of cognitive distortions. I would talk more about that, but I'm not a psychologist. It just seems to me that this whole situation ticks a lot of those boxes. Jumping to conclusions, personalization, magnifying the negative while minimizing the positive. It's all there. Look it up. What I said back in December was my first real attempt to make light of the situation and finally get this gorilla off my back. But I unintentionally blew the thing out of proportion. Oy. Let me tell you, that realization hit me hard. It was very discouraging. I think you could see how these distorted thoughts could get me into trouble. And even if it doesn't, I'm still liable to blame myself disproportionately, or even for no reason. How do I describe this to the average person? This thing is like a puddle of tar, a black slime that slows me down. It gets me stuck. My mind ruminates on these things. It's unpleasant. It's like having a voice inside your head, and not a nice one. It's sort of like... You stupid idiot! You senseless, dim-witted moron! I'm going to slap you into next week! Yeah, imagine having that screaming at you 24/7. So where do I go from here? I must be very careful not to blame myself too much. I need to move past this. At the same time, I cannot use this as an excuse if I actually do wrong. So let me say this now with absolute sincerity. PaulSoares Jr., I am sorry that I misrepresented the event back in 2012. I didn't have my facts straight. You did not stutter or sound awkward when you spoke about the wolves. If anything, I'm more prone to stuttering than you. I admire your work greatly, and I believe that it would take more than my well-intentioned meddling to ruin one of your videos. I look forward to more of your Minecraft videos in the future. Also, I would like to thank Roger Vanderwide once again for joining me on my channel back in December, and for providing some reasonable counterpoints to my pessimism. And last but not least, thank you for listening. I know this video was far more personal than usual. If it spoke to you on some profound level, I'm glad I could help. If it didn't, well, I promise that things will be back to normal on the next one. Until next time, this is Mike the Reaper 86, signing off.